So I finally sort of managed to get back into Oshi No Ko after I placed it on hold indefinitely a couple of months ago because I just couldn't take another bi-weekly chapter of melodrama. I love drama is always good to have, but I think Aka Akasaka exaggerated a little bit with this constant melodrama that took over the manga for months. I couldn't bear another chapter of it, and so I gave it a rest. I was sure that once I had more chapters to binge read, my issue would be gone. Goodbye melodrama and welcome... Maybe the melodrama wasn't that bad after all. Is this turning into that kind of story? Really? Come on, Aka. But in truth, the real reason I placed the manga on hold and the reason I'm doing it again has to do with the mystery aspect of the story. It became incredibly inconsistent. You know, with anime and manga you need to have a certain suspension of disbelief if you want to play the detective role and try to figure out the big mystery. Which is completely fine, as long as that particular story plays by the rules that it sets. Actually, that's the whole point of it. If the story breaks its own rules, then there's little to no point in playing the detective because you can't win. The game was rigged from the beginning. In this medium of anime and manga, almost everything is possible, more so than in any other piece of fiction media. When you read a detective novel or watch a mystery show that is set in the human world, there are certain limitations that cannot be broken. I'm referring to simple things, like how a teenager will never have as much influence and authority as they have in anime and manga. And so, if there are no rules set to limit those possibilities, then anything can happen. Oshi No Ko has been a bit messy and quite a bit more inconsistent in this regard. Let me give you an example, a minor example of what I mean. So, Aqua gets told by some people in the showbiz industry that his face looks like eyes. That means that we have a connection here. People who have met Ai or were close to Ai can tell that Aqua has a face similar to hers. Maybe they cannot make the connection that they are related, but surely they can tell they share similar features. Now, how do you fit Aqua's father in all of this? Aqua is literally a dead ringer for Kamiki. No visual difference between them whatsoever except the age. Kamiki also has an acting agency and works in the showbiz industry. He also worked under Kindaichi, the guy who knows both Kamiki and Aqua. He went to the acting award ceremony. I mean, come on, the guy is not a ghost. He doesn't try to hide himself. Akane found a great deal of information about him quite easily. Google and Lalali's members were all she needed. So, how are people making the connection between Aqua and Ai, but not Aqua and Kamiki? Not to mention that in a recent chapter we learned that Kaburagi knows Kamiki. It's implied that he knew Kamiki prior to the scene we see, as Kamiki says he is indebted to Kaburagi, but that is something else entirely. So, are people just not making the obvious connection between Aqua and Kamiki, or is everybody hiding it? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make that much sense. Now, mystery seems to, but also doesn't seem to be, one of the main aspects of the story because it ties directly into the revenge plot, which is the main aspect of the story. Of course, Oshi No Ko juggles many themes and he focuses a lot on love and lies, but the main plot is still the revenge. However, unlike a usual revenge story, this one is shrouded in mystery because 1. Aqua needs to find out his father's identity to get his revenge. 2. We need to figure out how Aqua is going to get his revenge. 3. Who is Ai, really? 4. The Crow Girl, and the Starry Eyes, and the reincarnation, and the Crow Girl again. This is why the revenge is intertwined with the mystery, they make love together. Unfortunately, the revenge plot has taken a backseat for quite a while now, and that's odd when the main plot of the story is the revenge itself. The showbiz industry with its drama is a big factor in the story, but at the core it's just a background for the revenge. It's where the twins must enter to get the revenge. And this main plot point has been repeatedly damaged by none other than Akane, surprisingly. She's acting as a detective in the story more so than Aqua does. Every major thing we learned about Ai prior to any flashback was through Akane's analysis. Also, every piece of information we learned about Kamiki was also through Akane. What have we not learned through Akane? Aqua plays his part too, but he never really figured out anything major. We could say that in his countless DNA tests, he managed to find out that Taiki is his half-brother. But then he overlooked the obvious loophole that Aiki's father wasn't his actual father. The point is that Akane is the detective in this story, and she has been a little bit too good at her detective work. So good that it makes everyone look dumb. Very dumb. Think about how she found out about Kamiki. So, at the award ceremony, this guy walks past Akane and she thinks she saw Aqua because the guy looks exactly like Aqua. She exchanges 2 words with Kindaichi and he gives her videotapes of Kamiki, and huge twist, guys, Kamiki looks exactly like Aqua. What? Well then, surely, Kamiki must not be in the showbiz industry anymore, otherwise people would connect him to Aqua as his face was shown on every billboard in the city. Well, I'll be damned. There is no build up for the mystery, not at all post time skip. The big reveals just happen randomly. The father's identity has been an important point ever since Ai's death. Aqua kept investigating it for the entire manga with little to no progress. Then, in chapter 72, he finally shows up. That's it, now things are rolling. I wonder how his identity will be revealed. Is Aqua going to confront him? Will he introduce himself? No. Akane uses her sixth sense to sniff Kamiki out, and then she does the most sensible thing that makes Aqua look like a brainless motherfucker. You know how Kaburagi told Aqua that Ai found love at Lalalai? That when she was a teenager she found somebody at Lalalai? Meaning that Kamiki was part of Lalalai during Ai's teenage years. He could still be part of the theater in the present day, or not. So what does Aqua do? He DNA tests the people involved with Lalalai. Cool, that's very good. But what about the people no longer involved? Aren't they more likely to be the father? Why not investigate that? Are there no pictures of past members? How about asking Kindaichi about Ai? You know, the guy who is the founder of Lalalai. Would he know something about Ai and Kamiki? Well, we wouldn't know because Aqua never asked. But no worries, because Akane, she has got this. She talks to Kindaichi, gets the videotapes of Kamiki, she makes the obvious connection and then googles the guy. And would you look at that, she found Kamiki in the span of a chapter. What a great payoff, what a great payoff. Just as great as the Crow Girl. Chapter 79, this little thing surrounded by crows shows up and she seemed to know everything that happened to Ai. Who could she be? Where did she come from? What's her involvement in the story? I smell quite the mystery. But nah, turns out she's Aqua's best friend. They've been talking forever, hanging out every other chapter. When you ask? Off page, of course. You just need to connect the non-existent dots and you'll figure it out. Deity? A god? Tsukuyomi? Shut the fuck up. Let's have her play the role of a child in this film. Let's move on. What I find really annoying is this discrepancy between the twins' intentions that goes on and off so many times. For example, Ruby finds out that her father murdered Ai through the crow thing. Then she wants revenge, so it seems like she will pick up where Aqua left. Cool, but she does absolutely nothing. A lot of her actions throughout her double Black Starry Eye period are painted as bad, evil, manipulative, very much against her personality. However, they are really not as awful as they are supposed to be. Take the Dig Deeper section of the manga. So Ichiko advises Ruby to play a role whenever she's on the screen, to pretend to be someone else. How awful? Tell me who doesn't do that in the showbiz industry. She then gets close to one of the assistant managers with the intention of using him. But she doesn't. She doesn't harm him in any way, she doesn't use him in any way. She's supposed to become manipulative to make her way into the showbiz industry, right? But she is not becoming that. What's the point? What is the point? Anyway, she then drops it when she finds out who Aqua is, and that's that. No revenge for her anymore. Incest is much better, right? And let's be honest, this is not tied to the revenge alone, it's a recurring way in which Aka seems to write characters. Basically, he beats the same point for his characters over and over again. How many arcs do we need of Kana distressing over lost fame? 3 arcs. 3 arcs so far, beating the same point over and over again with absolutely no development. How many times does she need to be saved by Aqua? Why make point after point after point about Kana not needing to be saved just to have Aqua save her again? Am I crazy? Am I missing something obvious? How many instances do we need where Ruby struggles to portray Ai? Apparently a lot. Aqua's reason for acting is to get closer to his revenge, but then it turns out he enjoys acting, but he doesn't want to admit it. Then he does, then he doesn't, and then he does, and then he doesn't. This repetition is frustrating. Maybe it's used to try to emphasize certain points, I'm sure it is, but do they really need that much emphasis? How many times does Aqua need to go through this circle of enjoying but cannot commit to acting before the point is saturated? Yeah, these repetitions and inconsistencies made the story less and less enjoyable for me. Not to mention the focus on incest as of late is just so tedious. I don't see a point in it. I'll be putting the manga on hold for now, so no more videos of it, at least until something major or interesting happens. Sorry about that, but when I try to make a video on something I don't enjoy, it turns out quite shitty. So I'd rather avoid that, and I think you would too. As for my channel in general, I know I haven't posted in a few months. The main reason for that is that I haven't watched or read anything remotely new. I've been having fun rewatching a lot of my favorite shows, which are quite old now, and if I were to make videos on them, then nobody would watch them. So that's that.